I am Vivian Olodun, and this is Dr. Tracy Timberlake. We've been working together for over a decade because we started when we were 2. And so when it comes to pitching yourself and making yourself attractive to moneymakers, we are so very good at that because we do not come from affluent backgrounds, but I don't know what it is. If there's a wealthy person in the room, they just love me. They just love me. They go out of their way to come find me. It's unbelievable. And some of the stories we can tell because of that. And so today we're talking about moving from concept to being able to pitch your business. And so we first and foremost want you to understand the story that we have had and where we came from. So Dr. Tracy, how did we even get into connecting people to money?
The wild world of money. Let's go way back. I was born on a Saturday. So Vivian said that we've been working together for about 10 years now, and really it was just a collaboration. Like Vivian was still working in corporate at the time. She was working for real estate, heading up their marketing department, and I had just come off of I worked in higher ed, I worked at a law school, and then I quit my job to become a full-time YouTuber, and that's what I was for a period of time. I was a full-time content creator and business coach, and then Vivian had found me and wanted to collaborate on some video things and marketing things, and then we realized that we had so much in common and we're both in South Florida. Mm-hmm. So we decided to, we would meet every now and then, get dinner, get some Mexican, nothing, just what one does. And then at some point, Vivian had this brilliant idea to host a conference. It was like, we need to host a conference, for people. But it was before then, really. I mean, it's your story to tell, really, about Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. So what happened when I was working in luxury real estate is that we were having lunch during a Black Lives Matter march, okay? And so it was a Black Lives Matter march in Texas where the police officers were shot and killed.
And this would have been 2015-ish.
Yes, it was an election year.
Yeah,
Historic election year. Mm-hmm. And so the people that I was sitting down having dinner or having lunch with were really moved by what was going on the news. And while we were watching everything that was going on, and it was very, very heavy conversation, there was a woman who owned a business, and everybody was marching past her business. And the reporter said, well, how do you feel about everyone marching past your business? And I never did get to hear what she said because the person I was having lunch with said, wow, people don't care about people anymore. They only care about money. And this is a billionaire who said this. And this is a French man who doesn't look like me. He's not melanated like me. And I thought it was my responsibility to kind of break the tension of the lunch. And so I said, well, what are you gonna do? Give him your money? And I thought he was just laugh and laugh. And that man did not laugh because I didn't know that he was married to a minority woman. And he was like, no, I would make my money available. He started to give me all these statistics about when women are given access to money, and that they're 8 times more likely to be successful in their businesses, that they were seeing only 3% of funding at the time. Unfortunately, after COVID, that number has actually dropped to 0.5% based on some of the statistics and some of the studies. And so 10 years ago, it was 3%.
Yeah.
Then he told me that the government at the time had made changes where they had committed to give between 3 and 5% of all government contracts to minority-owned businesses, and that women were just a new area that was identified as being qualified for that money. And so when he shared that, and when we left that lunch, I started to say, well, what happens if I ask the other rich people I know, are they as passionate about making funds available to others as this man is? And when we did that, when we were done, and it was highlighted in Forbes magazine, we had raised $15 million to invest.
And so what happened based on that is because they were so willing to make this investment, we just started sending them people. We were like, how about invest in this? What about this person? What about this person? Yeah. And then at some point they said, no. You cannot give them our personal email addresses. We need to put them all together in a room, and then we can have a conversation with them. And that's how the first initial Flourish Media Conference was birthed, from just wanting to get all of them in the room. In that first conference, we had 80 women from, I think, 3 or 4 different countries who had come to to speak to our investors, and we were very keen on the fact that this was not a pitch competition. Because there wasn't one single person that was going to win 15 million. It was just available. And if our investors said, "Oh, we really like that business model, let's meet with you," then they would meet with you, and then you could tell them how much you wanted. It was a whole situation. So we call it a matchmaking event. And so that first event, it was just supposed to be a singular event. It was like, okay, we'll just get them all in one room. But after that, we had so many other women who were like, "Oh, well, teach us, and how can, and what do I need to do, and how do we do next year's?" And we were like, "Next year?"
We didn't sign up to do this more than once.
We were
do it one time.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, I didn't tell these people that they're going to do this over and over again. I asked you to come one time. And so once we heard that from the women, and the bigger question was, we didn't have a community together. She existed on her own, and I existed on my own. But even though that was the case, 78, the very specific number, showed up for that first conference, which is 79, 80, right? And so with getting those 80 women in the room, they started to say, well, can you show us how you did that? And because I came from corporate, I knew that we use all types of tricks in marketing and online presence in order to make people take action. And because Dr. Tracy is a YouTuber and a content creator, she understood social media in a way that a lot of people don't understand, are just now, even after all these years, starting to understand the power of sharing your message. And so today, what we want to take you all through is really a workshop. I hope everybody brought their phones. You have your smartphones with you? Yeah. All right, so today is really about you all. And we want to show you where you are in the eyes of an investor. Yes. So what we decided to do after that first conference is that we ultimately created Behind the Leaf, which is a 501c3 nonprofit focused on investor readiness for women entrepreneurs. And that nonprofit is funded by our for-profit business, Flourish Media. So Flourish Media has a membership community where a lot of the women are looking to scale their businesses. And what we found, hey, shout out Rachel, she's in and she's a performer, she has a beautiful voice. Great. And so when it comes to building your business, it's important that you understand how you are seen by an investor, whether or not you are in an appropriate space to do that. And so let's see if this is gonna work out for
magically
me. I'm gonna do my Vanna White.
So obviously for so many years, we were just having these individual conversations with the people that would come to us, and then we would assess based on our knowledge. We would just go, well, do you have this? Where are you? And so we would just kind of intuitively know where they would be because we'd done it for so long. So we decided to systematize this and put this in a way that people could actually see it on pen and paper, and it wasn't just coming from Tracy and Vivian's brain, because that would be unrealistic for people to know, and it would be unrealistic for us to do it all the time for everyone. So we've created a member journey. We're going to walk through that. We're also going to talk about how do you know what season you are actually in and if you are investor ready. Because part of making sure that you are able to enter into a conversation with an investor about receiving capital is you need to make sure you're even in the readiness phase. They won't have a conversation with you if you don't have some of these benchmarks. So it's very important.
So as you're taking your time to use the QR code, you can scan that QR code, and we're going to ask you a series of questions. So what we're trying to identify, and what you will see at the end of this quiz, is where do you stand? So within the Flourish community, where we organize everyone is there on the screen. So you'll see that the first level for us is being in the seed phase. So the seed phase for us is about focusing on your mind, your body, and your relationships, because the people who are going to...
Hold on, before you go through, because I think they're taking the quiz. Should we give them a minute?
Oh yeah, they can. Yeah, I need some music.
DJ.
So that feels good. So if you're taking the quiz and you're finding that you're getting a lot of A's, then you probably fall into the seed phase. If you took the quiz and you're falling into a lot of B's, then you're most likely in the sprout phase. If you're moving along and you're getting a lot of C's, then you're in the grow phase. Then we have thrive and bloom and harvest. And so I'm seeing faces. And so when it came to each one of these seasons, what we found, because not only have we been working together for over 10 years, but we've had our separate businesses, and we've had the great honor of working with well over, hold your breath, over 1,000 businesses we've supported. Over 1,000. So we've had well over 300 retainer clients. So retainer clients for us are clients that we work with for 3 months, 9 months, a year. And I'm so happy that that retainer rate when we started out was $500. Girl, talk about imposter syndrome. And so then it's every time we got 8 clients, we raise the price. So you can do the math. If you go on our website now, $45,000, which is beautiful. And so when you are building your brand and thinking about going through your business, I just want you to know that this information has really been trial tested. Truly. And so when we're looking at all of the different business owners that we've worked with, we've found that those who have taken the time to get their mind, their body, and their relationships in order, they are ready to move into talking about systems, understanding what kind of products are you going to use, saying, am I going to use ClickFunnels? Am I going to use Kajabi? Am I going to use MailChimp? Am I going to use MailerLite? Whatever those systems are, that is where you are if you're in the sprout phase. That means that you need to decide what kinds of operational technology am I going to integrate into my business. When you get into the grow phase, that means that you've already decided what your logo is, what is your colors going to be. That means that you have material to protect. That means you need to talk to an attorney. You need to get a trademark. You need to know what is it going to cost me to copyright my materials, my IP. When you own those things, that is when you are in a place to share it with others. Have you ever tried to bring other people into your world to say, I'm gonna have a business partner, but you don't have a contract? That's when you get into some shady dealings, eh? Say it, girl. Because that's when you start looking over your shoulder and saying, you know, I feel like I'm doing a little bit more work than you. I feel like you should get paid like this and I should get paid like that. But you know why you're doing that? It's because in the grow phase, you didn't talk to an attorney to have an operational agreement. You do not have any contracts. And because of that, that's why vendors can take advantage of you. That's why when you're working with all different types of partners, things go awry and you don't understand what is the next step, or things get very emotional. When business is not emotional.
No.
Business is not emotional. I'm gonna say it again, business is not emotional. You're in it to make money. And so when you're gonna move forward and make money, that's why you need to have a contract. We have a contract. I love Dr. Tracy to the end of days. Leave her, my kids, everything. But we still have a contract.
Because we're smart.
Because we're smart.
Yeah. And thankfully it's been fine. Like, Vivian, she operates as the CEO of the company, and because we have that contract, it gives me the confidence to just trust what she's doing. I know she's not just out there just wilding with whatever money we have. She's not treating our clients any kind of way. That operating agreement really matters. But I want to say this with regards to recognizing if you're in the growth phase. This is where you can begin to have conversations with somebody who may want to invest. See, oftentimes people think, oh, I have an idea, let me find an investor. Investors do not invest in ideas. You have to know this. Investors do not invest in ideas. Remember, it is an investment for them, meaning if they are putting money up front, they're expecting to get some sort of ROI on that. If you don't have a way for them to evaluate, like you need a brand valuation. If you're in a place where you don't know what your brand valuation is because all you have is a concept of a plan of a business in your brain, they're not going to invest in that, right? So we want to make sure that we have some of these IP things protected, because as you begin to have the conversations with investors, you also don't want them taking it, because we've been through conversations like that too, where the investors begin to take your ideas, right? So this is why you want to protect your stuff here. Now for the brand valuation, once things become protected, now you can get into a conversation about how much is my IP actually worth, right? If you have something in your hand, there's a trademark, there's a copyright, there's IP that's protected, you have collateral, you have a logo, you have things that you own. Those things, you can quantify those in terms of numbers, and that's how investors decide how they're going to make the decision on how much money you may be asking for $5 million, and they can look at what you have and say, you barely have a business that with a brand valuation of $500,000, right? Because they're going to look at all of these things. So it's the growth phase. That's when you're going to begin to have the conversation with yourself around, what does investment look like? Do I need to start talking to an investor now? Do I have all of these things?
Yes, and so in that phase, the very next thing, when you understand how to protect what's yours, is when you can involve other people. And that is the bloom phase. That is when you are bringing in staff, when you're bringing in vendors, when you're bringing in professionals who are participating in the growth of the business. And it's easy for you to do that when you've actually protected the brand. It's okay if you're talking about your secret sauce, because I know if I tell you my secret sauce today and you try it tomorrow, I'm gonna sue you tomorrow, right? And that's real, because it's very easy to grow. It's easy to incorporate others. And why do you need to do that? Because we have heard so many times, especially because we support women entrepreneurs who are most likely in a service-based business, is that when you are in a service-based business, the service is the business. So that means there has to be somebody there to serve. So that means if you are a solo entrepreneur and COVID happens and you get sick, what happens to the business? The business is gone. And then we get into, okay, if you're a solo entrepreneur, do you have insurance on yourself? Are you bonded? Because if I give you $1 million for your business is based on you. And what did we say the seed phase was about? Your mind, your body, and your relationships, right? Because we work with women entrepreneurs. And I gave you $1 million, you had a baby, you have postpartum depression. You can't show up for work. And baby daddy ain't baby daddy. So the relationships ain't right. And now your mind and your body ain't right. And you can't show up to work, and I just gave you $1 million. How do I get my money back? It's not a joke. The system is there for a reason. We have seen it so many times. Or what happens when you are given funds for your business, everything's running just fine, you've protected everything, you have a wonderful team, and now, unfortunately, you get in a car accident. You're not bonded, you're not insured. You haven't taken that step. That's a part of being in the growth phase. Now, let's get on the positive side of that. You're growing the business, there's so many people who are working under you, and now things are operating lovely. You have an awesome system. The next part of that is the thrive phase. And in that thrive phase, that is where you are in a position to become a thought leader within your space. That means that you need to become an advocate within your industry. We have so many beautiful stories of women who are in our Made for Millions mastermind who have taken the time to understand that they have a system. But how do you know if the system works, Dr. Tracy?
Well, first of all, you need the system, but second of all, you have to test the system, right? And it's all of these small things that oftentimes, especially in our community, we are not thinking through. And this is why there's such a small number of us that are getting the investment funding, because we're not following through the entire system. And there are people out there who have ideas that are not as good as yours.
No.
Like they have plans, and they may not even have the community that you have or the people backing you, but because they have put together the systems and they're in places where they can now put systems in front of somebody, like here's what my system looks like.
Right.
I printed it out, I sent it to the trademark office, here you go. And now you actually have something to present for people. So this is why this conversation is so important. It's not just about, and I also want to touch on pitch competitions too. We love pitch competitions. We love those because it does give you the opportunity to pitch your business, to talk about your business, to make sure that you have all the things in play. But the kind of investment funding that we talk about when it comes to this system is they're not pitching for $25,000. They're looking for millions of dollars of investment funding. And we have to get our mind out of, I'm just gonna do a pitch competition, I'm gonna get $5,000 here and $10,000. And yeah, you can grow that way,
yeah.
But there's also a way where you can have one conversation with one investor that will give you $2.5 million tomorrow if you have everything that they are looking for. So that's why the systems and the processes are so important. And you have to think bigger than just, let me do the next pitch competition and the next pitch competition. It's great for practice, we love that. But the smaller the room, the more money you typically end up making.
That is so true. And I'll say that again, the smaller the room, the more money you are going to get. When we are a part of an investment club here in South Florida, it was established in Key Biscayne. And within that investment club, there are 13 billionaires who are members of that club. And so those 13 have a meeting once a quarter, and that meeting has 50 people in it. And I'm never uncomfortable around rich people.
Me neither.
But I was genuinely uncomfortable in this particular room because
But I feel like it wasn't necessarily because of the millions of dollars, but I think one of the things that makes that sometimes, because we've flown to Beverly Hills, they've had these meetings in Beverly Hills, we've done the meeting when they've been here in Fort Lauderdale, so we've been around these people. I think initially it was because there's not a lot of people that look like us.
No, there wasn't a one. There wasn't a one. There wasn't one. I was like, wow. I haven't been in a room like this in a long time. Because my corporate environment was like that, but my day-to-day life is not like that. So it threw me for a loop. I was like, wow, I feel away. Needless to say, when you are in the thrive phase and you are in a place where you're becoming an advocate within your business, you need the ability to step away from the business. We don't talk about that enough. You have to have a director of operations. You have to have someone else that you trust within the business so that you can leave the business to do a talking or a speaking engagement, to be interviewed on the radio, to be present at conferences, to be on television. While you're doing a TV interview, somebody still has to run the ship at home. And that is a very big part of being visible. And because we operate a PR agency, these are some of the questions that we ask when we are taking on clients. Because the reality is that the news is going to news. The news is like a 15-minute situation where they will call you today and say, can you be on the news in 2 hours? You need to be here now. And so when you're getting into being hyper visible within your space, you have to create space to be famous. Famous people have somebody somewhere who's doing the work for them. Please remember that. Please consider that.
Yeah, and if you are in a phase right now where you're not able, that's okay. Like, and we were the ones blowing up the balloons for the conference, like until 2 o'clock in the morning when we first started. But as the company grew, we recognized that one of the first things that we needed to make sure we had was people. Like, we need to make sure we have human resources, because the human resources, and speaking of the news, like Vivian and I, we were up at, the CW a couple of days ago.
Inside South Florida.
So we did an interview with Inside South Florida last week, and we were just keying it in the studio. We're taking pictures in the Stanley Cup room. We're doing all kinds of videos if you saw that on social media. But that's because we can. And so we're out there for several hours on a Tuesday. I don't know, Tuesday.
It was Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, because we have an entire team that is running the business. If we didn't have a team that was running the business, we might get maybe 30 minutes. Maybe 30 minutes, right, to be able to do something like that. So again, these are mindset things that oftentimes we're not thinking about because we're trying to hustle our way into getting investment funding and into getting capital. But hustle is only going to take you so far. We want you to hustle, yes, when appropriate, but we want you to be smart, right? Because smart people are the ones that are going to end up with the capital at the end of the day. Okay, so keep that in mind.
So thank you. Looking at where you stand or where you are in your investment story, some of the things that are important is that eventually you want to get to the harvest stage, and that's where we all want to be. And so the harvest stage is about preserving what you've built, making impact for others, sharing your ideas freely, being able to establish grants, opportunities, investing in other people's companies, being able to be a support to someone else, having an internship program within your business. This is where you're able to create legacy for others and thinking about what is your exit plan for the company. When it came to Flourish Media, one of the things that we decided to do, because we do have systems in place and we do have a team, is that we decided to federally franchise our marketing agency. And we decided to do that because the first year that we opened our doors, now this was 10 years ago, we were able to make $78,000, which is cute. That's a cute amount of money because it's especially in South Florida when your average income is $45,000 a year with a regular job. And then, the next year I think it was 113, and then the next year it was 158. and then it became 400,000, then it was 980,000, and then it was a couple mil, and then it has continued to do that. And so when it comes to building the business and being able to have an established brand, having that consistency over time, we are at a place now where we've been able to diversify our income. Shout out to Daphne, told me thank you, because I bought a building the other day, and so my building's going nice. And so being able to have investment funding, it's been wonderful. As an organization, we've invested in a breast cancer pre-screening device that went to market in Europe, and so it's very beautiful. So being able to make those extra steps is something that you need to plan for as you are in that seed phase. And it's also important to know where are you going, because if there's one thing about being an entrepreneur, it's the freaking mindlessness of every single day. It's like, what are we doing today? What are we just trying to keep things going and keep playing and keep trying things, because entrepreneur literally means the person who's taking the risk. It's literally what it means. So being able to take that risk every single day, I think that it behooves you. It helps everyone to be able to have an idea of where am I going with this? What do I want to achieve? And so I want to hear from you all here in the room when we're talking about the seed phase, the sprout phase. Let's take a survey within the room. So if you are in the harvest phase, raise your hand. Okay. If you are in the thrive phase, raise your hand. Ready to be an advocate.
Hopefully y'all remember what they are, but they're on the screen. Okay, so we have a thriver.
We have some thrivers.
Someone, and thank you for saying someone. Sometimes, depending on the business and how the business operates, you may teeter between a couple, right? So some of the people in our community, we have group chats for every phase, so that, and then we have pod leaders that are leading out in that pod, answering the questions, teaching them things inside of there. And so we'll have certain members that are in 3 different ones, and they're like, no, I just don't want to miss anything, so I'm just going to be in every pod. I want to know everything. So if you're teetering between a couple, that's okay. You can raise your hand twice.
Yes, you can. And so are you in the bloom phase? You're developing your team. You're looking for people to be vendors, partners. Beautiful. And so are we in the grow phase? We have the things, but we still need to protect those things. We're in a space there. Beautiful. Are we deciding on our systems? Are we in the sprout phase? You're thinking, what is the right technology to use to build out my business? And those of us who are in the seed phase, we're in the idea we need to get our mind, body, and relationships in order. All right. Lovely. So we want to open up the floor, I think, or...
Well, before we open up the floor, because there are several people who are in that growth phase. One of the things that we have really prioritized over the last, I would say we prioritized it for the last 2 years, even before it became a big boom, is really using AI to help you with those things. There are so many things that you can get done using some of those technologies, and so we run workshops. We have an advanced AI networking. You're not networking with each other. AI is networking for you. That's what we're teaching inside of that training that's coming up at the end of the month. Because what we find is that people love to go to different. Well, when I say people, I am not people. I like to be in my bed, horizontal. Vivian likes to be out in the street. You will see Vivian every day somewhere, and you will never see me. So the fact that I'm out of my house today is a miracle. So sometimes you meet so many people, you're passing out business cards, and you're like, and you know that there's value to that, because we value collaboration. We always say growth happens in collaboration. We value relationships, because it is relationships that will get you to that next level, because somebody knows somebody that knows somebody. So we want you to make sure that you're investing in relationships as much as you're investing in the business. Relational equity matters a great deal when it comes to getting that investment funding. So what we found is that people network all the time and don't have a way to follow up. There's no follow-up way. Well, for AI, for example, will do that for you. You just go in, you say, here's the business card that I got, and then AI will take it, and it'll send an email out, it'll do the follow-up, and so we have trained our AI to do that. So now when Vivian is this is what Vivian used to do. And remember, this is Vivian, this is not Tracy. Tracy is home. So Vivian would go to the networking events, and she would get all the business cards, and then she would sit in her car before she would go home. She would sit in her car in her garage and type an individual email to every single business, because otherwise if it didn't get done then, it wasn't going to get done, because she has to now move to the next thing, right? Yeah. So what we've now trained AI to do is hey, Vivian can just take a picture, put it into AI, AI will do all that magic for her, and then it takes 5 minutes versus an hour or an hour and a half for putting in all those things. And Vivian can go to more events now, because now she has more time. See? So AI can do really, really great things for you. But to that point, if you're not using AI, like, don't just go into ChatGPT and be like, what should I post on social media? That's not good. Don't do that. Don't do it. Use the tools that exist for you. Again, we're working smart, right? We're working smarter. So using some of those tools. So just recognizing if you're in that phase, and a lot of you are, then you may want to consider doing the workshop or something, just making sure that you're aware of all of the tools. That's just one thing that we have trained our AI to do, but you can do so many.
And let me take a little bit of a survey here. How many of you have the $20 a month subscription to ChatGPT? Okay, and those of you who have that $20 a month subscription, have you created a custom GPT? Okay, so inside of our community, what we've done is we've trained every single person in our community on how to create a custom GPT. And so what that is a virtual staff member. Mm-hmm. So when you're going through these phases and you understand, okay, well, this is where I have the gap, these are the things that I need, well, then if you know you need a customer service person, that means you need to create a custom GPT that is a customer service person. And so we train you on how to create that GPT that is a customer service agent. Mm-hmm. And then what we've done now is in our Made for Millions mastermind, we've trained all our mastermind members to not only do you have that GPT, but then you need to connect it to Zapier. Have you all heard of Zapier? Yeah. Okay, so you can connect that to Zapier, and when you connect it to Zapier, it can now do things. So imagine you're in the Sprout phase, you've decided to use Gmail and ClickFunnels. And so now I want to send an email to, I'm gonna shout out to Musa, because those are my homies sitting right there. So I want to send an email to Musa, and I'm gonna say, okay, send an email to Musa saying, thank you, it's great to see you at Tech Tuesday. My GPT, the one that I have that she's talking about, will email Musa for me.
You can do it right now.
I can do it right now, actually.
But the point is that the growth phase is where you're going to be talking to the most people, and you want to leverage your time wisely, and so using tools like that helps. Another thing that we have, for example, is we have an AI answering service. You call up and it's AI. They'll give you all the things, like they'll answer all the questions about the conference or about what we're doing, where we're going to be speaking next, what we have coming up. It'll answer all the things inside of just calling. So that means that people can stop calling Vivian. They're not calling me. As we know. They're not gonna call me, but they will call Vivian. And what's funny is we were gonna set Vivian's phone up right there, and she was like, you know, people are gonna call me in the middle of this. So that's why
like, do not do that.
Doing the recording. But yeah, so
here,
things like
I'll
that.
show you this.
Thank you for calling Flourish Media. How may I help you today?
Can you tell me about Flourish Media's AI workshop?
Sure. Flourish Media's upcoming AI workshop focuses on AI-powered marketing and PR strategies and secrets. It will be held on 3 days, May 27th and 28th, July 22nd and 23rd, and August 19th and 20th, all between 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. The event will cover topics like PR power for virtual events and AI and networking for global recognition. The workshop features industry experts like Vivian Olodun, Dr. Tracy Timberlake, Coriel Mallard, Danny Spikes, Laura Marscano, Denise Castro, Gigi Diaz, and Gabby Guzman. It's a fantastic opportunity to gain insights into cutting-edge AI strategies and network with industry professionals.
Wait, who is Dr. Tracy Timberlake?
Dr. Tracy Timberlake is a digital business strategist and the founder of Platform. She specializes in
Well, needless to say, you all, this is the type of thing we want you to understand when it comes to using the Sprout phase. Understanding what is the technology that I need to scale my business, because most of us don't have a ton of money sitting around to hire a bunch of people, but you understand that you need people on your team, right? You know that growth happens in collaboration. Let me hear you say it. Growth happens in collaboration. that collaboration is going to happen whether you have a plan or not. It's going to happen with technology. It's going to happen with your super trained, hired individual. It's going to happen with your cousin, sister, them that you hire because that's the person you could afford. It's going to happen when you outsource and use someone that might be outside of the country. But you will need other people in order to grow. And I want you all to have the option of using AI to do that.
Yeah, so keep that in mind and just think through what are staff members that I need right now to help me grow the business, to help me scale the business. Usually you can use AI to create that staff member. So it's worth thinking through, especially if you're wanting to get to the place where you can begin to pitch. And also, once you have kind of this fully functioning system, that adds to the brand valuation because now you have all of these pieces that oftentimes the investors are looking for, right? So our job is always to get you to the money faster. If AI can help you get to the money faster, we will. That's what we want to help you do. So just something to consider.
So at this time, let's go ahead and open up the conversation. So get a chance to get to know you all here in the room and answer any questions that you might have. So does anybody have any questions about any of the phases or how are we meeting investors? Where are we finding them? Or your own business? And when you stand up, please say your name, say the name of your business. If you have a handle, say it. This is always an opportunity to market your brand. Oh, go right ahead.
I mean, so one everybody gonna go first. Hold the microphone.
Yeah.
But hi everybody, Michael Stover, DJ Lee Stover, playing all music, you know. Right. But I'm also a business owner. I have my own orthopedic sneaker brand. That's what this is back here.
Wow, okay.
I started it from the ground up. Orthopedic sneakers. You want to come out seeing it right here. Right now, we have been in business for about 2 years. We just received our first investor for $70,000.
Yay! Yeah.
So, and my biggest question is, I need more money.
Yes.
So, especially with the tariffs, so where there are going to be our made in China,
Yeah.
it's kicking our butt. So, I need to know how to get more funding. Where can I reach out to? I've done a lot of grants. I just did the famous Amos Ingredients for Success. I am a finalist right now.
Great.
So, thank you. So, yeah, I just need to know where the money at.
Now let me ask, are you doing rounds of funding or are you just trying to organically find people to fund? Because there's a difference, right? And there's a difference in how you're having the conversation with investors too. Because if you're having rounds of funding and you're saying, oh, we're in the seed round, oh, you know, this is round 2 of our, you know, looking for investment funding, because that looks different on paper than just, oh, we're a business and we're trying to grow the business now. So, and we need funding for it.
So the 70 kind of just fell in our lap. My marketing person, her best friend invested the money. Okay. So that just happened out of anywhere. But our round right now, we're looking for 130 to try to get to 200 total with a $1 million valuation. So this is our first actual round that we're doing funding.
Okay, well that makes sense. For me, I would say there is money everywhere. Okay, because one thing we do is we judge where our money comes from, which we should not. Yes. There is literally money everywhere. And so when you're looking at building out and getting more money for the business, the first thing is to do an interview with your first investor. You need to understand why that person felt motivated to give you that money, because that story is the story that you're going to tell every other opportunity that can give you more money. Then you're going to create, and this is another place where we would encourage using AI, because you're going to create an avatar of that person. Then you can ask AI, I want you to go and look at LinkedIn and find me people who identify who are just like my first investor. Then you're going to go on LinkedIn and you're going to you're going to pay for Salesforce. It's the $99 you pay for
the CRM.
Yeah, within LinkedIn. Within LinkedIn, you pay for that so that you can add every single person without having to have a person in common. You add everybody. You use them 30 days because you're going to cancel it afterwards. You go and you add everybody that falls within that, and then start to add people who are decision makers at grants. So that means you're going to go into AI, you're going to tell it your story and say, show me all the grants that I would qualify for. Then you're gonna go back on LinkedIn and you're gonna find the community management person for that organization. Then you're gonna add them. And then you're gonna start telling your story about why did you decide to create an orthopedic shoe, and then you're gonna say, I'm looking for investors. Now you've turned LinkedIn into your marketing sales machine, because every single time, you guys know how LinkedIn works. Once someone is connected to you, they will start to see what you post. And this is why people pay Flourish Media the big bucks, because now you have a whole ecosystem training these people, and what's going to happen is the more people that they see that you know, they're going to automatically trust you, because they're going to say, oh my God, you know Dr. Tracy? I know Dr. Tracy. We both went to Dartmouth together. But you don't know neither one of them.
Right.
But LinkedIn said that you knew them.
Right.
So it creates a trust factor there.
And sorry, go ahead. No, I was gonna say, I want to hit on what Vivian said. When you're using the power of LinkedIn, you have to be visible, right? Like the visibility matters in the stories that you tell about your brand. And this is why, whether it's you're getting PR, you're getting featured on television, you're getting featured here, you're showing up at a pop-up, you're creating content that's telling the story of your brand, so that when it hits the algorithm, they're seeing it and they start to become invested before you even ask them for an investment.
Thank you. And just to touch on it, since I got everyone's attention, I'll just give you my story real quick so you can ask me later. I started the orthopedic business because I had, 2 years ago, had a partial amputation on my toe.
Oh, wow.
And my podiatrist said that I had to wear orthopedic shoes from here on out. And as you see, we get a DJ, get a media,
Right.
the ones out right now ain't gonna cut it, ain't hitting at all. And I'm also a graphic designer, so she made a joke and said, well, you're a graphic designer, design something that looks good enough and I might invest in it. I took that as a challenge. 2 weeks later, I had a deck. 3 months later, I had a prototype. And she's not even the one that invested, someone else did. But I took that as my fuel, and as I kept going, doing meetings and everything, I actually met with Ted, about 2-3 months before I even really got further into it. And they gave me so much insight. I was like, all right, I got a business.
Yeah.
I should go do something.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it just got better and better and better and better and better. So that's how I started Team Footwear.
Perfect. And with that added information for you, you must identify podiatrists. They need to be a part of that outlook that you're doing. And in addition to that, not only them, but the medical group itself.
Yeah, like the Association of Podiatry.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it would be really amazing if they would be able to purchase from you, and then that's a shoe that they're now recommending to their patients. And even more so, if you can connect with the Veteran Affairs or USA Jobs, especially with soldiers who are dealing with that type of issue, because they get like a rot in their foot. Both of my parents are in the military, so I know that very well. And so they do buying as well. And that way you could be in the AFES, and that's like a global overtaking.
I actually did meet the director of SBA, the director of Homeland Security for Small Businesses, and the director of U.S. Department of Health last year, and I've already said if she's ready, they will put me in office with VA.
Yes.
Wonderful.
See?
Yeah.
Look at that.
I also want to highlight, no, that's amazing. I also want to highlight something that he said. He said he had one conversation with one, and that person said, oh, make a shoe. 2 weeks later, he had this. 2 months later, because money loves speed.
Yes,
if you're
it does.
sitting on your ideas and somebody told you something, and there's so many people that come to us and they're like, I've had this idea for 10 years. 10 years?
10 years.
10 years? I made $10 million in 10 years. Like, what do you mean? So if you have an idea and you are not actively, I'm gonna make a deck, I'm gonna pitch to somebody, I'm on LinkedIn. We just gave you a whole strategy for LinkedIn and making sure you're finding investors there. We gave you a strategy for how to build networking for AI, using AI. If you're not doing it, and you're like, oh, that was a fun concept, and then we're here next year and you're in this exact same seat, in the exact same phase, that's because you did not take action fast enough. We want you to move through the phases. So if you're right now inside of, let's say you're in Sprout, the next time we see you, we're gonna ask, what season are you in now? And if it's been 6 months and you're still in Sprout because you haven't done anything, then you only have yourself to blame. Because we want to make sure that you succeed, but as I said earlier, money loves speed. You have to move fast, especially in the world that we live in now. Because it's your idea today, but it's gonna be somebody else's idea tomorrow. And you're gonna be like, oh, I had that idea first. And the market's gonna say, no, you did not. Because this person is over here making the money, and you're still wondering why you weren't able to get to that first phase of Sprout. because you didn't activate the idea enough, you didn't engage with it.
So as success loves speed, who wants to go next? Talk to us.
That's set. Hi everyone, my name is Vivian Olodun. I'm the owner of the Source Therapeutic Touch Incorporated. We are a mobile massage and spa company.
Lovely.
I know. Wait a minute.
Catching that momentum.
Yeah.
Because I'm a girl full of ideas, always, all day, but nothing gets done. You get me? So I feel like I need to meet with someone who's an action person, whereas
It's a match made in heaven.
Right.
a delegate, because ideas, the part where you said like, because I want to be that person when we meet again, I'm still in the same seat. So like, how do you transition, or like what's the steps to make it like?
Yeah, sure.
So, what you guys were saying with AI, that's how I do it. I have a billion ideas a day. Tell you, I'm always coming up with something. I did the AI voice thing. I got my own AI customer service and everything. But it's all about your
Keep it there.
GPT.
Leave it there.
I wanted to, because I think this answers her question.
That you can bounce ideas off of, and it'll tell you how that idea can be equated to this, and how much you can make off of it, what tools you need to get it happening. Just make that GPT. I'm telling you, me and my guy, I think his name is Rayshawn, a guy named Rayshawn. We talk every single day. That's why I wasn't ready when you said to play music. So
Talking shit.
Talking to Chatty.
talk to it. That could be your start. It'll tell you what to do to get started. And then meet with other people like coming to things like this and just network, because you never know what'll happen after that.
And one of the things, so Vivian and I, obviously we've been working together for over a decade, and a lot of the conversations that were happening between us in private. And we recognize that a lot of people don't get the privilege of that. Most people don't have business partners, and most people don't have business partners who are at the same level of intelligence, at the same desire, like we have the same desires, the same goals, right? And so that can be a struggle, but thank God, like Vivian and I, we're on the same page about a lot of the things that we do. And so we would have these really high level conversations and no one would be privy to it. And then sometimes people would be privy to it and they'd be like, oh, like, have you guys done a workshop on that? And I'm like, we just decided to do it right now. Like, do a workshop. So we created something called the Made for Millions Mastermind, because inside of that, it's for people who are looking to make $1 million in a year, like that first $1 million year. Because when we made that first $1 million in a year, everything changed.
Yeah.
Vivian and I had a conversation, I will always remember this conversation, where we were sitting there, we were speaking somewhere else, and so we're talking beforehand, and she was like, oh, I hired a bookkeeper. And I said, oh, okay. And again, I don't know what's happening. Like, I just trust Vivian implicitly with my life at this point, right? So she's like, I hired a bookkeeper. I said, oh, okay, that's great. And she's like, because I don't know where the money is going. Like, the money is here, and I don't know where the money is going. And she's like, I don't. And I was like, you remember when we used to know every cent? We would every cent of what we were doing. I was like, we used to know every cent. And I was like, man, I wonder what happened. And Vivian goes, you know what? We got rich. I was like, you're right. You are right. And so it's those kinds of conversations that we would have together. And so we opened up those conversations in a Made for Millions Mastermind. But this is the method that we take people through. So just if you are in a place where you have tons of ideas, but you're not able to execute on them, we have what we call the HIT method. That we were in this hotel in New York.
Yeah.
And we were like, what is it that we even do? And then we were like, we do this. And we're like, oh, let's call it the HIT method. So it's habits, identity, and tribe. You want to go over?
Yes, so we look at your habits, your identity, and your tribe, and this is something that we know for sure. These are the results that every single person that we've worked with has been able to walk away from without a shadow of a doubt. And so when we're looking at your habits, we're saying, what are you doing that's actually a money-generating activity? Because if you fill your day with things that are not money-making activities, that's why you're not hitting that $1 million year. Mm-hmm. If you know and take the time to say, okay, I've done my systems, I've been able to tell my community what it is that I need. They know in this season I'm focused on the business, I have the right operations, I've done the trademark, I've done all these things, well then your habits are not good. That's what it is. You have poor people habits. That's why you're not seeing it. And so
you want rich people habits.
You need rich people habits, the rich version of you, because this is all also not a comparison
Right.
of what rich means to you
Yeah.
compared to somebody else. Because something that we also focus on is your freedom number, which is different from every single person. And so when you're looking at your habits, we are not talking in concepts. When we talk about habits, we say, what are the services, the products that you are offering, what is the quantity that you need to sell in order to hit your freedom number? This is a very real activity. It's not based on
Theory.
It's not a theory thing. And so when it comes to your identity, it takes a whole lot to be Vivian who's doing nails in a trailer park to Vivian who owns a nail shop that's available all around the world. That's a lot of conversation around imposter syndrome, being able to show up, having the right kind of relationships, because your people love you, I hope. And they want you to see you do well, but they can only help you to the capacity of their own thinking. So if someone in your life is saying, girl, I got you, and you got that nail shop, and all they're doing is liking your page, but you want them to refer business to you, don't judge that person, because they're doing what they can do. What the problem is that you don't identify yourself with someone who's in the right community. And that's where your tribe comes in. Because that same person who would like your post is someone who would give you $75,000.
Right.
But they don't got $75,000 to give you. So how are they gonna give it to you? So in being able to have the right habits, having the right identity to say that, you know what, I'm a person that I have a lot of ideas and I need a lot of accountability, but you know what, I'm the type of person that built a team around me that has the accountability so that they can hold me accountable, so that when I need to show up in any environment, I'm a person who takes action. Even though nothing has changed about you, you just created an environment where you can flourish. And that's where we want you to be, is to cultivate a community of prosperity around yourself.
So hopefully that answers your question to help you.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, how much time do we have? One more. Oh, two more. I don't know how much time. How much time do we have?
12 minutes.
Okay, great.
Cool.
We have 12 minutes worth of questions.
All right, hello everybody. Thank you for this talk, first of all. This was amazing. You guys been dropping gems. I've been in this space for a while, so I can tell really solid takeaways from this conversation. I'm Dr. Michael Conrad. I'm a Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Milo Health, which is a AI women's health company.
Oh, lovely.
Our claim to fame is that we can predict postpartum depression in the first trimester of pregnancy at 94% accuracy.
Wow.
So we
That's
found-
awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Making you look for our communities, right? And so we got investment from Cornell, from DC. We're backed by NIH. We just solidified a partnership with IBM to implement generative AI in our product solutions.
Yeah, that's great.
One of my questions for you, specifically as you're in the AI space and AI-powered solutions, and investors, right? I'd like to understand what your investment thesis and criteria looks like now in this changing landscape, and what you're thinking for as far as companies that are primed for acquisition. I feel like the acquisition path has changed drastically with the introduction of AI. And all companies need some sort of AI solution in order to get invested in.
Yeah.
So just want to get you to share more about that and hopefully connect with you after this.
Yeah, I'll say, the company does not invest in anything. And we like Flourish Media as a company, we do not invest in anything, because we can't, right? Because that would be a conflict of interest oftentimes when we're bringing investors to the table. Individually, we've chosen to make different investments in the things. But I'll say for some of the investors that I know I've spoken to, they are looking at, are you incorporating and futuring yourself into a market 10 years from now? They're not just looking at what you've done, right? Because what you've done, you may have done it 10 years ago where AI didn't exist or some of these technologies didn't exist. So they are looking at founders who are paying attention to trends. Now, our investors, they're not well versed in AI. Most of them are not. Some of them, we have a couple that probably are in the tech space, but most of them are not well versed in that space. But they want to know that you are, right? So they're looking, it's not a specific thing necessarily, but they want to know, are you planning for that? Because what happens is, because the market is moving so fast and the world is moving so fast, those who are incorporating new technologies are getting the market share, right? You could be very, very successful. You could have been successful over the last 25 years and lose your entire company because you didn't incorporate future technologies that exist within your industry. So you do have to make sure that you're paying attention to some of those things, at least from what our investors have said to me. I don't know if you've had other conversations.
Yeah, it's very true. And one thing that you said, Dr. Tracy, that's very important for all of you all to take into account is that the investors are going to invest in things that are either trendy, that they know, or that shows a great return. So what that means for a lot of us is that, well, it means for right now is that if it has AI in it, people are interested. They're like, okay, it has AI, that means it's gonna be great. That's an investment I'm willing to take. The second piece is, if they understand what your industry is, then they want to take a step forward. And so for a lot of times when it comes to people of color, we have a unique experience. And so a lot of those dollars are coming from people who don't look like us. And so there's a lot of extra work with helping to help them to understand what that challenge is. One idea that's coming to mind, because you're in medical, is like sickle cell. If there was a lot of development around sickle cell, that's something that I could bet almost everybody in here knows or has a family member that's dealing with sickle cell, because it's connected to the melanin in your body so that you can fight off malaria. Crazy story, my mom got malaria when we visited my dad in Nigeria when I was really little. She was in the ICU for 6 months. It's unbelievable. It's a very terrible disease. And so when it comes to being able to overcome those things, it's about being able to tell your story in a way that other people can relate to. The last piece is straight up money. If you can show that there's a return on investment, then they're gonna be interested. And where does that come down to? The grow phase, when you're talking to your attorney, when you're talking to your bookkeeper, when you're talking to a CPA who can clean up your books, so that you can show that this is something worth being a part of. Because one of the investors that we spoke to, she is so funny to me, because this woman will invest in anything that makes money. Anything. Like the last time I talked to her, she invested in a coal mine. She don't know nothing about coal mining. And she was talking to me on the phone saying, girl, I was wearing my heels in the coal mine. I didn't know what to wear. I would have brought boots. I said, oh my Lord, all right. And I think she gave those people $20 million, and she don't know nothing about coal mining. But because of the paperwork, she was like, okay, yeah, if I give this money, I know I'm gonna get my money back, and I don't need to learn anything about this, because once I get my money back, I can leave or I can keep going. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So, over here, we have a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that, your comments to his question about investor readiness in this changing landscape. My name is Patal Dunbar. I'm a local developer here based in South Florida.
Oh, cool.
I just wanted to follow up on your question for investor readiness in this changing landscape with AI. Because the moat is changing so rapidly with the technology, oftentimes investors are doing an acqui-hire. So they want to hire the team who can still stand the test of time and be resilient with this changing landscape as people are getting disrupted with their platforms. When OpenAI is releasing a new model, is that going to disrupt your business?
Right.
And for your team to be able to stay on top of that and still innovate and still provide a high accuracy on, determining your algorithm, that's something that you want to stay on top of as well. So consider an acqui-hire, your team's resilience to be able to stand the test of time in the market.
That's so true. And so one of the things that's been very interesting about getting into AI, because we're a marketing agency. So once AI hit, it was very shocking for us, because we're like, oh my God, everybody thinks that they're a social media manager now. They're just gonna put in AI. And then it's like our pricing structure has to change, and we have to shift, and we have to pivot ourselves. We went through that change ourselves. But instead of being afraid of the technology, we jumped right in and had our entire team trained on AI so that we could could show up the way that we wanted to. And it's so incredible because it almost feels like weekly we get opportunities and asked to buy our marketing agency, which is so crazy. And it's like being able to do that is so important. And so what I wanted to make sure I did is that I put a QR code up here. If you're interested in learning about our advanced AI workshop, you can scan that QR code. We're gonna be doing the workshop on June 24th between 2 and 4 p.m. It will be recorded, so if you're not available at that particular time, you'll be able to watch the replay and you can use that. And this is the exact same training that we've taken our own team through. I am so proud of the fact that as we've started this business, as I've had different babies, both of us are caregivers within our family members who have had changes in their lives. And even through the pandemic and all that has gone on, we've maintained the same team.
Yeah.
Which is so incredible.
Yes, thank God.
And while we're very proud of the things we've done, I think what gives us more joy is the fact that we've had 2 team members buy houses in the last 30 days.
Yeah.
In the last month. And so that is the kind of stuff that's important, because I remember a long time ago, I was talking to this tech bro, and he was like, I'm gonna change the landscape. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And he was like, what's your goal? I was like, well, my goal is that everybody who works for me can send their kids to like a really fancy school. If they wanted to send them to university, that they could pay for it and they can have a house and be able to do those things.
Yeah, just take care of your family.
And he looked at me like I was like, had such small goals. But to me, that's a big goal. So being able to make
Because we have a team of many people. It's not like we have one person working for us, and that one person bought a house, and that one person, we have many people that are able to do it now, and it's great. It's fun to watch.
It's a beautiful thing. So as you're thinking about what your freedom number is, this concept, think about the impact that you want to have in your business and the impact that your business can have, because all these people are just participating in your dream. So it's important that you dream big and that you build good systems so that your dream can flourish, because it really can. It really can.